We all make mistakes in life. It is not only inevitable, but an expectation. Our abilities are not always up to the task that we set our minds to, and we fail. However, if we learn from those failures, then they are simply a step on the road to success. I have made a lot of mistakes in life, to be sure. I've also been incapable of achieving something at one time or another. But what I try to do each time that happens is to assimilate the data from the situation and determine why. Why wasn't I able to rise to the occasion? Why? Why was it that I failed? And use that to determine what I need to do to improve. One particular failure that seems to be a thematic reoccurrence is that sometimes, when attempting to make a deduction, I find my knowledge base insufficient, as I don't have the required data to determine the meaning behind an observation that I make. This is a recurring instance because, well, there is always more to learn, and there will always be a field that you or I aren't studied enough in that is pertinent to a problem. In conclusion, the search for knowledge, if the intent is to never be in a position of failure, is futile. However, if one's premise is to take every opportunity to improve, knowing that perfect knowledge is unattainable, but with a perspective that insurmountable tasks will come, and you will fail from time to time, but that failure is a temporary state that drives success, that though perfection is impossible, to be extraordinary, in spite of that, is perfectly within the bounds of possibility. So, with each failure that comes, with each problem I can't solve, I don't view it as something that can never be solved, but something I am not yet equipped to solve. I don't like to leave problems unsolved and stories open-ended. I require completion to acquire a sense of closure. As such, I use the tools at my disposal to be able to solve the problem. Each time that I can't figure something out, I write the reason down in my notebook that I always carry with me. Whatever subject that I need to be more learned in, I write it down, so that later I can access the information about the subject and absorb what I need to be able to solve the problem. This allows me to not only know what subjects I need to improve my knowledge on, but also how much. Everything about knowledge is application. If there is no use for that knowledge, there is no need for it. Knowledge is simply a tool, a means to an end. Thus, there is no need to absorb an entire field of study when a sample is all that is relevant to your purposes. This is where referencing the problem that you couldn't solve is paramount, because based on that problem and how much information of the subject in question that you needed to solve that problem, you can gauge how much of that subject will be pertinent to similar problems in the future, and thus acquire what you will need so that you are equipped for your purposes. We all use deduction in different ways, apply it to different things. Some want only to be able to understand people and to be able to figure out the things that aren't said. Some want to use this in law enforcement. Others might want to become a performing mentalist, showing their abilities for entertainment. And still others might want to apply this skill to their career. The possible applications of the use of observation, logic, and reasoning is virtually endless. So in the daily problems that you try and solve, make each failure into an opportunity to improve. I challenge you to carry a pocket notebook with you, and each time that you can't solve a problem, or can't make a deduction about someone, write down why that is, even if it is not knowledge-base related. If you were distracted by cares or worries floating around in your mind, or if you were nervous or perhaps tired, any reason that you can determine is the cause of your inability to solve a problem, write it down so that when you have the time, you can determine how to deal with whatever has caused you to be unable to solve that problem. And once you have addressed the cause, don't leave the problem unsolved.